Hi there and welcome to Fluffy Jellyfish. Today's video is going to be a little bit different from normal and a little bit sad, but I think it's important that I talk about this, and it's something I wish that I had known as a newbie rat parent, so hopefully it'll be a little bit educational for you guys if you're thinking about getting rats or if you're a first timer like me. But before we get started with the video, I have a few exciting things to share with you. At the moment, I am sitting in my new house in our new pet room, which is up here in the attic, and I love it so much. It's so nice being able to have a space that's just for the pets. The rats can free roam in here really easily and it's great. So at some point on my channel you will see a sort of moving vlog slash pet room tour type thing, and I'll show off my room and you can check out where the rats are living and where Elvis is and inverts and all of that, so you'll get to see that soon. As well as that, if you're a returning subscriber, you might notice that my rat cage is different from normal, and that's because we got an awesome cage upgrade for the rats. So another video that's going to be upcoming is me putting this cage together, and you'll get a little tour of this as well. And throughout this video you're going to see the rat boys sort of roaming around this cage. Some of them are awake now that I'm up here. And you might notice some new faces, and we got new rat babies, which is super exciting. So at some point I'm going to be showing you the sort of intro vlog that we took and introducing you to these guys. So do stay tuned for that, that's going to be super exciting as well. And all those videos that I just talked about are going to be coming in the next few weeks in the sort of run up till Christmas and maybe in between Christmas and New Year. I've got most of them filmed, I just need to edit everything together, so yeah, stay tuned for that and do hit that subscribe button if you want to see the videos that I've just talked about. So now that I've shared all of my exciting news with you guys and told you everything that's awesome that you can look forward to, I'm gonna get into the bulk of this video, which is probably gonna make me a little bit emotional because I'm talking about rats that have passed away recently. So if you're a returning subscriber, you might have noticed that recently I've posted quite a few remembering videos, so the little videos that I do when one of my animals passes away. And there's been a few rat ones recently. And basically the reason I'm making this video is because I realised through what we initially did with our rats that we made a mistake. We got too many rats in one go. Now that in itself is not a mistake. We were able to handle the amount of rats that we got, and we had a big enough cage. Not this one, but the previous one that I had was big enough. We had a big enough space to free roam them, and we had enough money to take care of them, and all of their needs were met. So I don't mean a mistake in that the terms of the husbandry and being able to take care of them. The mistake was getting too many in one go basically means that they're all gonna die around the same time, which is rough. The average lifespan of a rat is 1.5 to 2 years. Sometimes you can get a bit lucky and they live a bit longer, and similarly you can get unlucky and they don't live quite as long. So rats are quite known to have, or to be prone to lots of different health issues, including things like tumours and respiratory issues and things like that. It's sort of your luck whether you get rats that are healthy or going to be more prone to issues like that. It's quite often down to getting or sourcing your rats from a good breeder, so getting rats from a pet shop or a backyard breeder, more likely that you're going to end up with rats that have health issues, whereas if you go to a good breeder that's breeding for health and temperament, you're more likely to get rats that are in better health and less likely to have the nasty health conditions that they can get when they get older. So I'll talk you a little bit through how we got our rats in the first place and a little bit of the background to my rats. And I'll share with you how they passed away and what happened to our recent rats that have passed away, and hopefully you'll get a little bit of an insight into the realities of owning rats. So we initially started with 4. We got them from a breeder, so that was Haku, Falcor, Smaug and Drogon. And then shortly after that, it was about 3 or 4 months after that, we rescued 4 other rats, so that was Alduin, Mushu, Horntail and, oh god, Diaval. It's so bad when I can't remember their names. So yeah, we got them about 4 months after, and they were around the same age as our initial 4 boys. And then shortly after that, well I say shortly after, it's probably about 6 months after that. Yeah, 6 months after that we got 3 more, so that was Puff, Spyro and Fafnir. So that was us with 11 rats, and that was our most, like the maximum number that we had at one time. And then more recently we got Shenron and Toothless, and their story is really sad, so I'll talk about them at the end. But 11 rats was the most that we had at one time, and they were all similar age, so Puff, Spyro and Fafnir were a bit younger. They were about 6 months younger than the group of 8 that we had previously. So sadly with Puff, he passed away not long after we got the rats. He had a really nasty respiratory infection and it just did not clear up for a few months, and eventually he passed away. So that was really sad and we were very unlucky with that case. More recently, who's whinging? He's just grooming you. The 3 new boys are very squeaky, so they squeak for anything, even when they're not like in danger or being annoyed or anything. They are very squeaky boys. He's just grooming you. He's being nice. You squeaky little pain in the bum. Anyway, back to what I was saying. Where was I? Oh, sadly I was going through rats that had passed away. So the next was Smaug and Drogon, and that was, I can't remember exactly when, a few months ago now, and they passed away within a few months of each other. Can you stop eating my hair? That's very rude. I'm gonna get so distracted sitting here. I need to not lean so close. Who is it? That's very rude. Please stop nibbling my hair. Now I'm sat a little bit further forward, so hopefully they won't be able to do that anymore. Anyway, back to my story. Where was I? I was talking about Smaug and Drogon. So sadly they passed away within a few months of each other. They went downhill both very quickly. We feel like they might have had the same thing. We're not really sure what that was. In the end, from what I've read, I think it was kidney failure, and that's kind of what the vet said as well, but they weren't totally sure. We've since switched to a slightly better vet because we didn't really trust them and they weren't that great. But with them, we think it was kidney failure. And they both had very similar symptoms. They got really thin really quickly. They just had really low energy. They were not really eating, but drinking quite a lot. And from what I've read, that sounds like kidney failure. So that was really rough, losing the 2 of them in sort of one go. It was in with like a few months of each other. And then shortly after that we lost Alduin, and that hit me really hard. Alduin was one of our favourite rats. You're not really supposed to have favourite children, but Alduin was our heart rat, and losing him was rough, especially because it was so out of the blue. Just one morning we sadly found him at the bottom of the cage, and I have no idea what happened to him. Luckily he looked peaceful. We think maybe it was a stroke or something like that. I really don't know what happened to him, so that was really rough losing Alduin like that. After Alduin it was Diaval, and he had a tumour. Sadly inoperable because most of it was on the inside. So we made the decision to get him put to sleep. That was about 2 months ago. There's so many and it's totally making me emotional. I'm gonna get through this video without crying. After Diaval, it was Falcor. Falcor had an abscess in his mouth, which we managed to get cleared up at the vet's, get some antibiotics, and it went away, or it seemed to go away. What the vet had happened is that the abscess had poisoned his blood, and yeah, went downhill from there, and sadly we had to get him put to sleep as well. So yeah, that's the little list of rats that have recently passed away from our older boys, and sadly the boys that we still have remaining, the old boys, we can see them slowing down a little bit. They're all generally in good health, but so Spyro's got like mobility issues in his back legs, he can't quite climb as well. Mushu is getting a little bit thin, and we're just noticing them slowly start to go. Haku as well, he's gone downhill a little bit. He's starting to move really slowly, he's not eating as much, he's getting a little bit thinner. So generally not too bad in their health, but you can see them slowing down and they're starting to get to that age where they're yeah, just not quite functioning as well as they should. And it's sad watching, knowing what's happened to our previous boys, that they're probably not going to live that much longer. They're all coming up, or the first 8 boys that we had are all coming up to their 3rd birthdays, which is awesome. I can't believe we've had rats for that long. But yeah, they're coming up to their 3rd birthdays, which is great. It means that they've lived past their sort of average lifespan and they're a little bit older, and Spyro and Fafnir, they're probably just over 2 years old roughly. So again, that they've made it past their like average lifespan as well. So yeah, I'm really glad that these guys have made it past their normal lifespans and are going to be with us hopefully a little bit longer, so I don't feel as devastated about the thought of their passing. Of course it's really sad, but I'm glad that they've made it to a good old age. Unfortunately, there were 2 of our rats that did not make it to a good old age when they passed away. So Toothless and Shenron both passed away within a few weeks of each other, and it was really heartbreaking because they were so young. So a quick bit of background. We got Toothless and Shenron from Pets at Home, from their adoption section. And their story was that they had been born in store. Pets at Home had unfortunately messed up the sexing of their rats, and they'd had a female and a male together, and she'd been pregnant and given birth in store, so they weren't allowed to sell the rats, but they were up in the adoption section. So Pets at Home, or pet stores, rats in general, are known to not be the best quality of rats. They come from rodent mills, which are horrible, so I sort of generally recommend never buying pets from pet stores because you're just supporting a really horrible industry. But at Pets at Home, they have the adoption section, and the money, or the what's the word that I'm looking for? Yeah, the adoption fee that you pay goes towards the charity and does not go to Pets at Home itself. So, what is happening? You're being very distracting. So yeah, if you're going to get rats from there, at least pick the adoption section rather than Pets at Home itself, or that's just my advice anyway. So Toothless and Shenron came from the adoption section. We got them when they were kittens, and we introduced them to our current group of rats, and it went really well. The video for the introductions is up on my YouTube, you can check that out. And they were doing really well with us. And then we noticed that both of them at the same time started to develop the signs of a respiratory infection. So we took them to the vets, we got the normal medication, and we'd had them on that for a little while, but they just weren't getting any better. They weren't getting worse, but they weren't getting better. So took them back to the vets, we're like, this isn't working, what can we do now? They gave us a different medication to try that instead. And again, it didn't work. So it didn't get worse, but they weren't getting better either. And we were nebulizing them at the same time, and we weren't sure whether we needed to take them out from the main group and separate them into another cage or not. We decided not to do that in the end and see how they got on. But we took them back again, and back to the vets again, and they were diagnosed with a lung infection. So that was quite horrible because there's basically nothing they could do. They gave us more medication and told us that either they would go downhill and we'd need to make the decision to put them to sleep, or they would always be like this. And that was sort of hard for us to deal with because on the surface they didn't look like they were in any pain, or they didn't look like they were suffering. So we had to decide whether we were happy to let them live like this and just keep monitoring them to see that they wouldn't get any worse, or whether we needed to make the horrible decision to get them put to sleep. Unfortunately, that decision was sort of made for us as they both went downhill really quickly. They both lost a lot of weight. The sounds that they make with the respiratory infection is very croaky, and that got worse and worse. And we knew that unfortunately we had to make the decision to get them put to sleep. So they were very young, and that was quite devastating when that happened, especially as it happened around the time that some of our older boys were starting to pass away as well. So we went through a period of a few months where just lots of our rats were passing away, and it made us feel like horrible rat parents, like we were doing the worst thing and our care was terrible, and I was getting really emotional about it and Stuart was trying to support me through it, and it was just awful. And I sort of come through it now, I suppose, and I feel like it's definitely not mistakes on the part of our husbandry or what we've been doing wrong, it's that we've just got too many rats in one go. And while I've loved having a really big mischief and having lots of rats running around, we're definitely gonna decrease our numbers a little bit and have slightly less rats at a time. And definitely not acquire too many same age rats at the same time. So at the moment we have 7 rats, and that's probably going to be our maximum and as much as we're ever going to have in one go. Of course with rats, because they're a social animal, you always have to make sure that you're getting new rats in sort of like a timely fashion, because you want to make sure that you never end up with one lone rat. So you want to introduce babies and try and time it right for the group and the group dynamics. So we've just recently introduced 3 babies to our older boys, just in case they all pass away in one go, because that would be awful. I suppose that's what this video is about really, is introducing new rats and having older rats pass away in a sort of steady timeline of rats all the time. It's something I didn't really think about when we first got them. I knew that obviously that was part of what you did, but the actual reality of that hadn't really set in when we first got them. So I just wanted to make a little video explaining our story, what happened with the rats, why there's so many remembering posts at the moment, and hopefully you'll get a little bit of an idea of what it's like to own rats, and hopefully it won't put you off completely. But yeah, you do need to bear in mind that if you are going to have rats, them passing away and then possibly passing away early is part of the realities of owning them, and it can be quite tough. So I'm sorry this post has been a little bit sad, and it's not the most entertaining of videos for me, but I hope you've learned something, and if you already have rats, I hope it echoes your own stories and maybe you understand what it's like. And if you're thinking about getting rats, or if you've just got rats, hopefully you'll be able to understand the sort of realities of owning rats and what it's going to be like for you in the future. I don't make this post to like put people off rats or scare them from the rats that they already have, but yeah, I suppose pet death itself is really rough, and it's something that you need to be prepared for and to expect and to know that you're going to be able to deal with it. So thank you for watching, and if you've got any tips or any stories you'd like to share of what you wished you'd known when you were a new rat owner, if someone had told you before you'd got rats, do drop them in the comments. I'd love to hear what you guys would have liked to have known before you started out with rats. And do hit the subscribe button if you want to see all of the videos that I talked about at the start and all of the exciting things that are upcoming, and to meet these guys behind me. Yeah, all of these wonderful things are coming up soon, and I'm really excited for all of that. So yeah, do hit that subscribe button and you'll see that along with me. I'm sorry, I'm trying to keep a straight face, but I can feel someone pulling my hair in through the cage. Who's that? You're so cheeky. Yes, I see you. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!